Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. Today we have in here Kill Knight, a game developed by Playside and also published, and also they provide me the key for it, so thanks. So I decided to take this game for a spin on a GTX 1650 Super, and I will be starting with 1080p maximum settings, which is basically 1080p with SMAA. This game doesn't even feature a TA solution. That is reflections and also ambient occlusion. That's the only options you can choose from. There are some frame rate limiters that you can select, and also VSync on or off. So why testing this game? First of all, it's a twin stick shooter. This is something that we don't get every day. And second thing is really the requirements of the game. So these guys specify that you need a GTX 970 as a minimum, and I was a little bit concerned about it because looking at the game, I can see a lot of effects going on, but still, it sounded a little bit too demanding. And also for the recommended GTX 1080. So I'm happy to report, and as you can see, that none of that is exactly reality. I mean, I know that this is a 1650 Super, which is different than a 970, but still it's not far off when it comes to the performance between both of them. So one of the things that I can say is that the 1650 Super can just breeze through the game. As you can see, frame rates above 100 frames per second. So unless you really want to max out your variable refresh rate screen, I don't see any reason to be concerned about the performance of this game. So those requirements are a little bit, whoa, over the top. And when it comes to the recommended, I mean a 1080, why you need a 1080 for this game? You don't really need it, alright? So yeah, that's the thing. Requirements for this game are really very high, although in reality you don't really need that level of hardware to run this game just silky smooth. Alright, so then after noticing that, I decided to move on and try other resolutions, of course. Alright, so yeah, other resolutions. So I decided to move on to 1440p this time around. And as you can see, no VSync, no frame rate limiter in here, SMAA, everything maxed out. I decided to go to the same level. And even at 1440p, I was able to breeze out through the game without having frame rates lower than 60. So my minimum was around 70 FPS. Of course, this might vary depending on the levels, but the principle of this game is really this type of arena twin stick shooter. So I don't think it's going to change that much when it comes to the performance levels. So yeah, that's very good. So if your target is 60 and you are planning to VSync, you can raise your resolution to 1440p in case you want it or you have it available, and it's just absolutely fine, no issues whatsoever. Also, and of course, I decided to try out the almighty 4K resolution just to see how it fares. Okay, so 4K resolution, but this time around I decided to go with minimum settings, so no anti-aliasing, no reflections, no ambient occlusion. And well, we are stretching a little bit too much in this sense. So basically 57 frames per second, 50s. So I'm gladly to say that the game's performance will be around the 50 frames per second. So if you have a variable refresh rate screen with a G-Sync or a FreeSync or something like that, I must say that if you enable that, it will probably be smooth enough to play the game with no issues whatsoever. Although when it comes to the performance thing, yeah, it's below 60. All right, and twin sticker shooters is supposed for you to run with a very high frame rate. And that's probably where the GTX 1080 recommendations comes in, but still I don't think you really need a 1080 unless you really want to have like 144 frame rates, FPS I mean, with 4K resolution. That's the only justification I see for the requirements specify a 1080 as the recommended, since for 60 frames per second probably a 1660 Super, an RTX 2060 or an AMD RX 6600 can go through all this game with no issues whatsoever at 4K and probably with the maximum settings. Alright, so that's really all that I want to talk about the performance of this game. Expect a Linux versus Windows comparison and a live stream somewhere or somewhere in the next days. All right. So that's all, guys. Thank you a lot for watching, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.